Hello, welcome back. Messing around with that Discovery again? My works vehicle. Like I needed another project. Left-hand sill in this episode. There's your spoiler. Enjoy the video. Before we get down and dirty, check your subscribe please, and if you're not, why the hell not? Contact me, Churchhouse Classics, it's all one word, @gmail.com. And if you fancy buying me a pint or supporting the channel in any way, then there's a PayPal me link thing scrolling along here. Enjoy the video. Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Okay, right, so what have I been doing? You've seen already that I took the remains of the outer sill off, and what I've really done then is I've further trimmed back. So I've got the base of the A-pillar off, along with the floor supports. Nothing particularly nasty going on in there. The only bit that I find a bit disappointing is the amount of rot in this area here. Now, it looks like the arch, because there's no hole through, but the arch is going down and underneath the gearbox cover. And then it's rotted out between the two. This piece already, which goes along that line there and along this line here, I'm going to replace. The majority of the footwell is okay, but then I started tapping around at the top there and you can see a world of light. Oh, bother. Never mind. I can soon fix it. Now, at the back end here, it does look a bit radical. The reason I've done all this is because there were panels that are good, but have rusty corners on them. And then there was panels that were bad and had rusty corners on them, and there was patches. So I'll take the patches off. This piece here, that's the wheel arch extension. I might actually just end up taking that thing off in its entirety. That's the bottom edge of the wheel arch, just there. This piece here and that piece are the same piece. So that was the story there. And the reason I was doing all of that was I was trying to work out how on earth I'm going to weld the inner and the outer sill together and then slot it into place, because, well, the B-pillar's in the way. I just don't think that it's going to be easier to actually do this. Now, I am going to hold the inner and the outer sill together. So what I do is I'll drill some holes through here, hold it together. In fact, there's a hole there nicely already. So I'll drill some holes, put some self-tappers through, hold it roughly in the position, and see how easy this is to manoeuvre in and out. What I might do, and this is radical, is just chop this entire section, this brace, off in its entirety. And then when the sill's in place, seam weld it back on again, grind the welds flat. That then, at least I think, will give me the opportunity to bring the sill into position, slide it underneath the gearbox cover, and then push it back, I think. I'm going to give it a go. Now, interestingly, steel line at the front there. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last episode. The bits that I've cut off, though, yeah, it had been a sill for too long. I mean, the car was 1994. It's not done bad. Scrap pile's growing. And then the other disappointment for me was while I was under here, I found a hole in the chassis. Oh, you bastard! It's actually in one of the reinforcing sections above the chassis. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to fix that yet. Once the sill's in place, what I might do is cut this section of the floor up, because it needs doing anyway, and then weld it from above. And do it in much the same way as I've done everything else. So basically just cut a huge great square out, fix the problem underneath it, and then butt weld the square back into place again. In order to access the bottom of the B-pillar, by the way, I loosened all the screws along this edge here, removed the screws along the B-post, ran a knife up the joint here, and that then gives me enough room to access the base of the B-pillar. I don't want to pull it too far, because I'm starting to tear the outer skin here already, and I can't find any further fixings in this area up here. Although maybe that's a fixing up there. I think that's actually seatbelt. This piece goes over the top. I don't want to break things, because Oh, that just came off. He says, I don't want to break things, but... Yeah, I'm breaking that, so I'm not going to bother doing that any further. I don't think I need to take the... I mean, I was talking to Paul Atkinson's. We often have conversations, and he was suggesting that realistically, undo these screws, undo the bolts there, undo the bolts up there, undo the bolts on the bottom, break the seal, take the rear bumper off, take the entire rear quarter off, which is from here right the way down and includes that piece. And I thought, that's just getting in way too deep, that is. Way too deep. Okay, so, as I said, I'm going to screw these two bits together, I think, next. Very, very, very similar in the overall construction to the Range Rover sill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align those two edges together. I'm going to align the bottom together for now, and really just hold it together with clamps and so forth and see how easy this is to wedge in. Well, that was way easier than I was anticipating. Way easier. It does help having that rear section out there so I can see roughly where the mounting points are. So I'm roughly over the mounting points on both sides. I'm aligned with B pillar, I'm aligned with A pillar, and everything else really sort of fits together, really. So how did I do it? Well, you stand over there. I've got two mountings in at the moment, so I need to pull the mountings out first of all. Maybe I don't know. It's all a bit on the tight side. The problem I'm going to have here, I think, is that the front mounting probably could go in like that. Let's just take that off. Oh, stuck there now. It's stuck on the inside of the A post now. There we are. Right, it's off now. Right. That wasn't too bad, he says. So what I'm going to do next, I think, is I'm going to tidy up the edges, and I am going to clean up where I'm going to be welding. So clean back the coating, weld the inner and the outers together, and then put it on. And once it's on, then I can start doing all the other repairs, because I've got some back in the shell again. So it looks like, really, to put it on, we're going on the front first. Oh. Come on. I like you, Jemmy, there we are. So we're on the front mount, and then location on the back mount, and it's in. Obviously having the floating A-post and having the wing free at the base here allows me to manipulate things around. And obviously the lamps aren't in at the moment. What I might need to do here is just trim the bottom of the A-pillar back just a tiny bit further, just so I can make it a bit easier to slide the front mount in. The reason for that is the mounting needs to go onto the sill before it goes onto the car, because it's not easy to fit the top part of the mounting once it's all in place, because you've got a hulking great box section around it. Can you see? Hulking great box section around it. Right, I'm going to tidy things up. I'm going to start welding this and then fit it to the car tomorrow, because it is now, what time are we? Going past the stripy sky. My new clock on the wall says it's 4:15 on a Saturday. Right, and I got myself a new bottle of gas, especially because I knew I was going to do this job this weekend, and I want to really get this passenger side as done as I possibly can this weekend. That makes sense. So far, so good. Right, sill is welded together and is on the two mountings with rubbers underneath. That was a bit of a bastard to get in, I'll be honest. I had to take the very, very, very bottom edge off the seatbelt mount, but I'm not worried because that's going to get welded onto the top of the sill. I also had to cut the cage off the front. I don't think the B-pillar's dropped. I think that the sill is a very, very, very slightly thicker steel than original. So we were only talking a millimetre or two out, but it was a struggle. Now, you will have noticed that there's a hulking great gap here at the front of the chassis. And if you remember, that's because it was compromised all the way along this edge. It was also compromised at the top edge. Now, I'm going to repair that and weld that back in again. The rest of the arch on this side is actually pretty good. So it's okay. I guess the upright part of the bulkhead is okay at the bottom edge here. So I'm going to clean that up, weld in new steel. Oh my God, what a bastard. But it's there now. So lining things up, clamp everything in place, and then, yeah, start welding it in. And then I'm going to weld on the bottoms of the B-pillar, bottoms of the A-pillar. Yes. We can galump forwards. Having ripped half the fucking car apart, we can galump forwards. It's just what I needed was another project. Knob. Here you can see I've secured the base of the B-pillar back onto the top of the sill. Nice big slugs there. And welded in the B-pillar bottom repair section. Big blob of weld there I need to grind off. That's warm still, Richard. Oh, right, okay. Now, I am still going to need to make quite a big closing section down here. I kind of, because it was what it was when I pulled it all apart, I didn't really contemplate what was sill, what wasn't. Fairly sure I've got everything back in the right fucking place. It wants to be back in the right place. I mean, everything lines up. I can't see what the door to the inside of the sill looks like. Yeah, that'll be fine. Once the seal is on there, that'll be fine. So that's B-pillar. I'm going to go in from the back, so I need to actually basically get in the back of the car to weld on the back side of the B-pillar repair, but everything else is welded on that. And then A-pillar. So I'm probably going to concentrate on A-pillar now. And then I'll do that lot once I decide what the fuck I'm going to do with it all. So once they've got the A-pillar and the B-pillar on, then I'm going to weld the rear floor, the transmission cover and the floor support back onto the sill. It does seem like a right kerfuffle, doesn't it? To be honest, it is. Which is why I need this back on the road. Pronto. It's got to be back on the road because I need a car. I'm using my son's Citroen C3 at the moment. Sold a Mitsubishi. Because I wasn't going to do anything without it. And now drive a Citroen C3. There's a very slight twist on that sill there. I might try and straighten the front out before I weld the A-post on. I think it's... I might just check the orientation. It might just be an optical illusion. I mean, the B-pillar has attached up beautifully. And I don't know, really. Oh, there's my hat. Cutting fashion. Don't follow fashion, lead fashion. Oily flat cap is where it's at. Knob. What a knob. Right. A-pillar. So, in the back of the vehicle here, I have got A-pillar repair section. This is offside. I want near side. Here we go. Near side. Near side. Or left hand. Near side in the UK, because we drive on the correct side of the vehicle. Let's get this out. Right, now what I'm going to have to do really is work out how much of this panel I'm going to need. And to be honest, it's probably most of it. I'm going to trim this section back here, just because am I going to trim it back? I don't know yet. or am I just going to weld that straight on? I might trim this back just down here, purely because they're my telltales for this piece here, or do I just not need that? This piece, by the way, is the reinforcing piece that goes in behind the door hinge. I'm not going to worry about fixing every fucking spot of rust on this, but I am going to de-rust everything before it all goes back together again. And I'm going to have to work out what the fuck I'm going to do up there. Probably end up chopping this section out of the inner wing and make a repair to the top there, but I'm going to have to find a way of isolating the loom and everything first and foremost. Yeah, I think we might end up just cutting this off, and to hell with it. I'll weld this piece on. Before I weld that on, by the way, and I can see this is the bit that's twisted. I can see that that is not flat, so I'm going to pull this out or push the top bit in. That's annoying. I can probably accommodate it into, it's because I'm rushing this, you see, 'cause it's a Sunday and I've had enough. Yeah, the twist comes in here. Probably as a result of all that welding there and all that heat I put in. I'll get the G-clamp on it and see if I can't twist it around. This can come off for a moment because it's just going to get in the way. And I'm going to get busy trimming. Now, before I weld the repair section on, what I will need to do is to make up a flat piece of steel which goes from here and straight down and welds onto the forward face of the sill. Because there is no closing piece here. So I'm going to tidy all this lot up and then weld that in. I can't see how that's... No, that's bent. Yeah, that's not flush, so that needs bending backwards. I don't think it's too much of a problem. I'm not worried. I am not worried in the slightest. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get me coffee first though. Let's take that out of there, otherwise what will happen is I'll slam the fucking door and break the connector. Look, the connector's strapped up there already. How about that? Right, that should do the leading face. I need to grind the welds back here. I ended up making some cuts. So on the original panel, which is from there, sorry, on the replacement panel, from there downwards, I made a bloody great big cut here and I put a bend in about there so that I can continue and accommodate with a very slight inward twist on the outer sill. It'll work. I'm happy enough with it. It's all going to get hidden once it's all together by the plastic oversill. And then, because I wanted to do a flush weld, I ended up chopping it in half. So what I'm going to do next is take the other bit. I'm not so bothered about this not being flush here, so what I'll effectively do is fashion this into roughly the right sort of shape, maybe make a bend on it again and weld that on. Okay, so once again it's going to need a slit along here somewhere, a groove, so I can bend the top half inwards. Actually no, we don't need to do that. We need to cut down here, cut down there, and then push the top half backwards, because the bottom half all lines up. Look, it'll work. I'm happy enough with it. It'll do the job. Need to grind those two back so that sits flush on there. We're getting there. Then what I'm going to need to do, because I didn't put the piece of steel down the front face of the sill, I'm actually going to make up a piece that comes down and just comes at an angle onto the edge of the top of the sill. It's a workaround. I think it'll be a little bit more resistant to rotting out. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bulge on there. Really where I've kind of been welding it and so forth. I'll soon bash that back in though. It'll do the job. It's not a concourse restoration. It is a let's get a sill on this so that it's going to pass an MOT and I can use it as a works vehicle kind of job, I think is what it is. Now if I cut that down, I can push that back. But what I probably could do is utilise this piece here and not actually worry about cutting it. So cut this off along here and then weld it in. I think I'll do something with it. I'm going to go and have a coffee. Right, more or less done the A-pillar repair now. They don't move. Panel gaps are still good. Well, Land Rover good. So yeah, I think we've done the A and the B post. The sill mounts, I've not connected it up yet to the gearbox cover or anything else because I've had enough and I'm going home to watch the football because we're in the middle of the Euros. What I am going to do before I disappear is I'm going to start making up some repair panels for in here. Not quite sure how these panels are supposed to fit onto the top of the sill. I think it's just a flat piece that's going to go across with an angle on the end that connects up, but obviously I need to do the floor side piece, I need to do the wheel arch and the wheel arch extension, which I might, as I said earlier in this video, just cut this extension off. It's only spot welded on along up here. If it comes off, then I can put a new one on. Yeah, I'd like to have got a bit further with this, but it's been quite invasive. It's been a lot of work. Good grief. Right, oh, there's my hat. Right, clearing up. Clearing up, make some repair panels. The floor section that I chopped out much more than I needed, and really all I need to do is just replace this edge along here where I cut it from the inner edge of the transmission tunnel, and then of course I got the top edge which goes against the arch. Scraped all of the underseal off the underside of it, and then these very helpful strips of steel which are kind of roughly the right sort of shape. So you can see there marked a red line along roughly where I want the cut to take place. And then we've managed to find a bit where it's not absolutely pissing down with rain today, because it has been all day long. I welded in that strip along there. Okay, butt welded at the front, and lap welded along the edge, and it will get a decent dousing of seam sealer and stone guard and so forth before I finished. Right, so it is now, we are probably about 4:30 or so on a Sunday. I've waited all fucking day, pardon the expression, for it to stop pissing down with rain, and it stopped about an hour ago, and I thought, oh shit, I better get on with some welding. It has just been horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Oh, hello. So yes, now I've got that lip in there, I can trim back the remains of the floor pan and weld that in. Good Lord, what's the bright thing in the sky that's hurting my eyes? Yes, it's not pissing down with rain, and it's a Monday now, so I thought, well, I'm going to take some time out because I want to weld this floor piece up. So effectively what I've done, taken the floor section, chopped out the rusty edges, probably gone a little bit berserk on it, but I don't want to do this again. So then welding in sections, doing it a chunk at the time because I kind of wanted to keep the distortion down. But once that's all done, it should drop straight into there. And I think we'll be all right. I'm going to carry on welding, enjoying the weather. See if we can't get a big chunk of this done. And then the other thing I really want to do is, I'll show you the bits I chopped off. You'll probably agree. You'll say, yes, Richard, what on earth were you thinking about trying to keep those bits? So these are the bits I chopped out. So once I've been back on them with a sanding disc, it looks fine on the underside, and it's rotted out. There's a bloody great hole there. And similarly, yeah, there's a hole there as well. It's never going to be as thick as it was originally. So I chopped all the bits out. There's another big bit somewhere. It's going to go in the scrap bin. And similar, I need to do with this. So this is the heel board that goes up towards the arch. So you get that done as well. And that's just going to be a splice in there. The rest of it is fine. And that's the bracket that holds the brake line on. Scrap bin's filling up. Let's go and get rid of it, a load of it again. Good grief, it managed to stay dry long enough for me to weld the bastard in. So that's it more or less in place. I'm happy enough with that. It'll do the job. Blind man on a galloping horse would not notice any difference there. Yes, right, letting things cool down. I'm going to make up the next repair sections now. So I started with the rear heel board, which goes like that at the back here. And I welded in a repair, and I'm going to put that all in and work out where that needs to go to. So I think really this lip here is the important bit. So I'm going to fold that back on itself, put an L section on here and down there, and then weld a plate across and onto it. I reckon. It's got to be worth a go, hasn't it? Almost got a flaw back in my disco. Oh, God help us. Like I say, managed to avoid the rain. Right. Let's get on with this. Well, it had to happen sooner or later, didn't it? Okay, been a few distractions this afternoon, but I have been lining up this panel, making up this relief panel here, which still needs finishing off. And then when I've done that, I can build in the closing section of the arch, the triangle that goes on the floor to cover up that. And then the seatbelt mountings. I've checked that the seatbelt still fits on here. It does, beautifully. And then I need to work on the front end. It's getting close. It is getting close. And then this side can go back together again. And I can turn it around and do the other side. Almost halfway there. Oh, the sun is out. Hallelujah. Right, okay, what have I been doing? Well, welded that lot up. There's a couple of gaps and bits and bobs in there, but I'm not particularly bothered about them. So you can see that we'll resolve all of that. So you can see there I've welded in the closing panel against the inner wing. I've welded in the closing section of the wheel arch. I've welded in the heel board. And I've been making up panels for the front end here to close this in. And then we'll be done on this side. The only thing left to do, well, there's two things left to do. Three things. First and foremost, this piece here, which is the wheel arch extension closing piece. Once I've got the arch and everything all done, and I've got the wheel arch, sorry, got the wheel off, then I can chop this piece off and replace it completely. I still need to weld up that hole on the chassis. Got a rash off the fire blanket, leaning on it. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to just chop a chunk out of the floor like this. Just chop the whole fucking chunk out, repair it on the deck, I'll put it back on again. We'll see. If I chop the floor out, you see, that then gives me better access to repair the chassis. But that's starting to get somewhere. Fucking thing. I've almost had enough of it. Like I say, I needed another project really. All of this lot here, I've been down it with Mr. Tappy. I'm just going to treat the rust and then paint it, and it can all go back together again. I need another bumper. This one's bent right there. It's nosed into something. Hasn't taken the headlight box with it, but it has taken the trim that goes underneath the headlight, which I might be able to repair, but the corner bumpers are fucked anyway and they've been chopped off. So yeah, I might need to find myself a better bumper. Look, the headlight washer's destroyed over there as well. Yes, I think It's almost there. It's so close. And then when I finish the whole thing, then I'll get underneath. I'll get up on the ramps down the road. It's got some nice big tall ramps, and I will go over it one end to the other with some underbody preparation. Preparation H, I think I'll call it.